Joining us now, one of my favorites, Newt Gingrich, whose wife is going to be confirmed soon to be the new ambassador to the Holy See. And he joins us now. Congressman, Speaker of the House, acclaimed author, film producer, anything else, lover of animals. Hi, Newt. How are you?
I'm doing well, although that list kept growing there, I noticed.
Hey, Newt, I was in Botswana last week, or until yesterday, and thought of you because I know you love the animals. It's my third trip there, and I felt right at home because I watched wild dogs tearing antelope apart, and it felt like Washington.
You feel like you're just back home, right?
Yeah, no problem at all.
You understand pack behavior.
What do you make of this? This, first of all, let's talk about the Sessions stuff that's happening. President still apparently has not spoken to Jeff Sessions, his attorney general, in the last week. And we get these tweets coming out. Now we have a new fight with Scaramucci and Priebus. Let's start with Sessions. What are your thoughts there?
Well, I think Trump is very, very frustrated and feels that he's watching his son-in-law, he's watching his son get drawn into something which he thinks is totally phony, and he feels that the Attorney General could have blocked all this if he had not recused himself. So I think from that standpoint, it's very personal. I think the frustration is very deep. On the other hand, he hasn't fired him. I don't think he's likely to fire him. And I think Sessions' attitude is, look, we have this one deep disagreement. I still support President Trump. I still want to have his administration be very successful. And I think you'll see Sessions just keep moving forward, trying to do his job.
Airing dirty laundry in public, family fights, family feuds, family disagreements. We seem to see a lot of that. A little bit.
I know it's not my favorite. It's not how I would do it, but it's a little bit like Bobby Knight or Vince Lombardi, both of whom would publicly, criticize their players and beat up their players orally and try to get better performances out of them. It's also just that Trump is a guy who, when he feels something deeply, blurts it out. He's very existential. He's very here and now, and he's very transparent. I mean, you really are getting the Trump you see. He doesn't have 9 layers of personality. I don't think that sometimes that's a good behavior for a president. I think that there are times he'd be better served to be more disciplined and more patient, but it is who he is. But I think in the case of Sessions, here is his earliest supporter in the Senate, his most loyal supporter through the entire campaign. When he was down 10 points, Sessions was still right there. It would be an enormous mistake to fire him. And I think probably we're past that stage. I think that they're going to go on together, and some point down the road they'll start talking. But that's less relevant than the fact that Sessions is going to continue to run the department. He's going to continue to do the best job he can to implement the policies that the president believes in. And I think that Sessions thinks that's his job.
Newt, the latest intra-family fight is this Scaramucci coming out, the new comms director of the White House, openly questioning the chief of staff in a way that I've never, in all my years in Washington, I've never witnessed anything like this. I mean, I remember Pat Buchanan was the communications director at the White House, and he kind of kept his head down and pushed through the policies for President Reagan in those last term, and others, of course, they were policy people and also broad communications strategists. What do you take away from this most recent 24-hour period with Scaramucci?
I think that Scaramucci had better be a lot more careful than he has been. He obviously likes the limelight. He obviously likes being in the media. I would say right now that he's being more pugnacious than effective. And I think that he ought to slow down a little bit and learn what he's doing. And I think the things he said about Reince, if he said them, where's his proof? I mean, it's totally unhelpful to have somebody going around starting family fights in public. And if he's going to be that divisive, I'm not sure he's going to be very useful to the president.
Well, he called into CNN, and could be for the sole purpose of questioning Priebus. And the soundbite, I hadn't heard it, Newt, until Raymond Arroyo and Drew played it for me this morning. But this was, I mean, again, I'm just kind of old school. I mean, I work for Reagan, so I'm just kind of old school on this. Let's listen.
The leaking won't stop. I can't have a couple of friends up from Fox and Friends and Sean Hannity dinner with the president and his first lady without it being leaked in 7 minutes. It's absolutely, completely, and totally reprehensible. And as you know from the Italian expression, the fish stinks from the head down.
He went on to say that Reince can speak for himself about whether he's the one who leaked his financial disclosure form. It turns out his financial disclosure form was publicly available, and that's how the reporter got it.
Well, as I said, I think Scaramucci's full of himself. I think he got down here from New York. I think he's all excited, and I think he's frankly talking more than he's thinking. I mean, I think this is, he needs to slow down and learn the business. This is not the same as being. It's almost the challenge that the president has. I mean, Scaramucci's not in a position of being a wealthy entrepreneur who says whatever randomly he thinks. His job should be to organize the communications of the President of the United States and to help the President communicate with the country. And picking fights internally doesn't get you there. I mean, it may get you news coverage, but Frank, he'll learn very quickly. You can get news coverage lots of ways. This is a city where if you're in the White House, you'll get plenty of news coverage. The question is whether or not it's useful news coverage, whether or not it actually gets you where you want to go. And I'm very underwhelmed by this propensity to go out and pick. First of all, attack your own side, and second, suggesting things that for the average American, the head, by the way, is the President of the United States. It's not the Chief of Staff, so I don't know what he's referring to with that use of an old Italian saying, and he's certainly not suggesting it's the President. So I'm very concerned that I originally said he's a great asset. I think he could be a great asset, but I think he's got to learn to be part of a team, and I think he's got to learn to be part of some kind of planned process if he's going to actually live that out.
Well, and I think one thing that always strikes me in staff selections, and these people are all working hard, and Reince Priebus is not a more populist conservative like Donald Trump, but he's been working every night until 11 o'clock at night, working around the clock, and he's worked hard, and maybe he's the wrong person for the job ultimately. Maybe I don't know, but people have worked really hard and they've done their best under very difficult circumstances. Lots of mistakes have been made, but I just think in the end, the agenda has to be bought into by the people in there. And I am worried from everything that I read that, Scaramucci he's more of an establishment Republican. I don't think he's pro-life, is he? I mean, it's from what I saw in that Daily Beast piece.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, on all those issues, that's a little concerning. But look, if you can be in for the president's agenda,
my sense was he's sort of a standard Northeastern.
He's moderate. A bundler from Obama. Drew said he bundled for Obama. I mean, is that right? Did he bundle for Obama or for Clinton?
I don't know.
Well, one of those guys. So, well, fairly important.
But I think he has the energy and he has the smarts and he has the aggressiveness. I think if he were to focus it, and if you remember that he's part of a team. And that beating up your own team is not usually the most effective way to win a game.
No, I think it's hard to get good.
That may sound radical and un-Washington-like, but I think it's true.
Now, again, the wild dog film that I put up on Twitter this morning. I mean, if you're going to tear anything apart, have it be the other side, not your own people.
That's right. Yeah.
The wild dogs don't attack each other.
The goal was to eat dinner, not to eat each other.
No, exactly. Newt. Meanwhile, we have 6 of the Republican senators who voted for a straight repeal of Obamacare in 2015 and in years before. Yesterday, when the vote mattered, could have actually delivered results for the American people. You had them all from McCain to Lamar Alexander to Dean Heller to Murkowski, others, Portman, all voted against the repeal of Obamacare yesterday.
Yeah, and I found that very disappointing. I've said all along that the one senator who had every right to vote no was Susan Collins because she had always voted no. And she voted no back when, basically it was a PR statement. So she at least represents a continuity and a legitimacy of her position. But and some of these folks are very good friends of mine, and I just say, in terms of why people dislike politics, having somebody tell you for 7 years, we need to repeal, we need to repeal, we need to repeal, and then when they finally can do it, going, well, I didn't really quite mean that, or this isn't perfect, or whatever. I mean, they need to learn how to get to yes. Governing majorities find a way to get to yes. Opposition majorities find a way to get to no. They're still behaving as though they were the opposition party. They're not. They're at least briefly the governing party. And, for example, they've got to get a tax bill signed by Thanksgiving. Now, that requires a lot of folks to end up voting for something that won't be perfect. And if they're going to be a governing party and they're going to win the 2018 election, they had better learn to do stuff like that.
Is there a cogent, convincing argument to make in favor of keeping, and again, I know he's really smart and he's a smart strategist, he's been there forever, Mitch McConnell, a Senate Majority Leader, when he could not muster the votes, at least so far, for any serious repeal of the cornerstone legislation of the Obama administration that they all campaigned on. I mean, do you ever stop and say maybe he's not the right person, or is it not about him?
No, I think he's probably as good at marshaling people as anybody I know. He has, I think, a really deep understanding of the Senate. He probably has a broader reach in the Senate than any other Republican. I recently, because I was curious about it, I read his book from 2 years ago, The Long Game. It's a remarkably useful book, both about Mitch and about the Senate. I think, we have people who have a really narrow margin trying to do something that is really hard. And I think that they're going to keep struggling. My prediction is Mitch will find a way to get to a formula that gets something passed. It won't be elegant, it won't be pretty, but it will get done. And that's sort of where they are right now. They don't have the margin to be clever. And so they just have to stumble around until they can find a way to get it done.
By the way, the new book by Craig Shirley about you is so fantastic. And it's just, I think, it's just coming out. It's not quite out yet. It's coming out in...
Yeah, no, it comes out in August. Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
I will tell you, when I read The Galleys, I got exhausted. I had forgotten. I saw Joanne Kemp last night, and I was telling her I had forgotten how much stuff Jack and I did in the 70s.
So much fun,
and it's because it was just unbelievable.
Oh no, it was that the book is fabulous, but there's so much in it that just reminds you of kind of, I could say, the good old days. But when people actually were able to get big ideas pushed through in legislation, and the book is called Citizen Newt. We're going to be talking about it. Obviously, as we get closer to the publication date. And your #1 New York Times bestseller, Understanding Trump, fantastic. So, Newt, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. We love having you on, and give our best to Callista. We hope she's confirmed very, very soon. We'll take a break. Don't go away.